can you use your microphone? That way it's on the record.
Sure. Confirming you've got a quorum of 4 of 7 of the voting participating members.
All right, thank you very much. So we have the agenda. Everybody got a packet in front of you, and we are going to follow the agenda that has been published on the Metro website. The second item on the agenda is a public comment period. Do we have anybody listening with us that wants to address the committee? All right, I don't see anybody. If somebody shows up later, we can see if we want to decide to let them speak. Item 3 is contacts and disclosures. Can you clarify what that entails?
Sure. Sometimes some members will have more contact with others throughout the proceedings. As long as you don't discuss the business of this board during those encounters, it's fine. But just in case you think that, someone may call to question why you were having that contact, this is opportunity to disclose it and say, but we didn't discuss any board business. So that's basically what that's for.
All right. So did anybody in the committee contact anybody else to talk about the issues of the committee? All right. Well, thank you very much. All right, the next item on the agenda, item 40, is the introduction of the new executive director, Mr. Trey Atkinson. And I wanted to share a little bit the process. Per the request of the committee, I attended interviews of the top candidates that were interested in the position. There were some really good candidates, and Mr. Atkinson was one of my top 3 candidates. I hear my echo. All right. And I wasn't like a voting member on the process of electing the new director, but my feedback was requested and I was happy to share. So I just wanted to share with everybody that I attended, I think it was 9 interviews of people interested in the role, and Mr. Atkinson, one of my top 3 candidates. And so having said that, I wanted to welcome Mr. Atkinson to introduce himself and just share with the committee.
Sure, thanks. I guess just to bring you guys up to speed a little bit too. Can you hear me okay? I can run through a couple of these slides right quick just to give you all some background too. I'm pretty much experienced here, project manager in construction here, last 25 years here in Nashville as a project manager. I've been on the pre-construction side, a lot of experience in hospitality, multifamily projects, a lot of commercial tenants, finish out type work. Several notable companies here that you guys might be familiar with. Doster Construction. I was on the project team that did the Graduate Hotel over here on West End Avenue, which was a pretty high-profile deal. Haven at Charlotte, big multifamily projects, 10 stories, a lot of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-story multifamily projects here over the past couple of years. So, again, happy to be a part of the team, and we'll go through a little more information as we move through the presentation and the agenda tonight too, to get your feedback. Thank you.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Atkinson? All right.
Chair, if I may, we're in the process of actually adding the consultant to the screen. So we have to take the content that was there off so he can be there, so he can participate, and we have to put in with him if he wants.
So he's taking a minute?
He's doing that right now.
Okay.
It shouldn't take long to get that up.
So we had a period for people to comment, and you were here after that, but if you're interested in speaking to the committee, I can ask if they are interested in letting you speak after the time in the agenda. Okay, thanks. No problem. All right. Well,
Gil, mute.
this will be a good time for anybody that wants to get a slice of pizza to get it while we wait.
Yeah, feel free.
You too. There is pizza there.
Not yet. You.
It feels like we're on a spaceship.
Keep talking to me for just a second.
Okay, no worries. We'll make it go.
Can you hear?
Not an issue at all.
All right, we're good. You can go. When you're ready, Daniel. We're ready when you're ready. Go ahead.
Are you talking?
Yes,
to
sir.
me?
Yes, sir. Daniel, sorry.
Oh, okay. Hi. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Daniel Vial, CEO of Intelligent Partnerships. It's a pleasure to be in front of this committee. So thank you, Mr. Chairman and the broader board for welcoming me into this process. It's been a pleasure connecting with Director Davidson, to begin to tee up some of this work for you. A little bit about Intelligent Partnerships. We are a compliance design and delivery firm. We focus on modernizing compliance models around the country. We've had a tremendous amount of success helping public agencies integrate compliance strategies into their procurement models. And our focus is really about translating policy that comes from boards into activated procurement strategies and practices, and then coming behind that effort with the data capture that empowers the agency to make real-time decisions. And most importantly, I think, at least from my perspective, is moving away from the antiquated complaint-driven and post-performance compliance modeling into real-time delivery, where you understand what's happening on your projects in real time and your teams can respond, and it gives them more leverage. So I'm happy to engage in the process. We've had some initial discussions, and I'm looking forward to supporting the work of this body. Happy to answer any questions that you would like or move you through any other information.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
I could hear you say, can you hear me, but I didn't hear anything else.
Oh, well, I didn't say anything else. I feel like we are back 10 years ago when we were trying to start with this technology. So I apologize for the inconvenience. I appreciate you joining us today. My request will be that you try to speak closer to the microphone and as loud as you, like if you're screaming to your dog or something. Do you have anything else to share with us?
Well, I'm happy to give you more information, but I think the executive director is really going to drive the conversation in terms of the board interaction. I'm happy to take a deeper dive on how we can be supportive. I'm really mostly interested in hearing from this body what the primary points of interest are, where you would like to start, so that I can make sure that we're providing the kind of support that the office needs in order to deliver on that.
Sounds good. We appreciate it. Will it be, we have a question here from Councilmember Sepulveda.
Okay.
More like a comment. Since he was saying what the board is interested in seeing, I think since being involved with the initial process of creating this board and commission, one of the things that we wanted to see is safety on all of our construction sites, making sure that we had the safest sites in our city. And so creating a complaint procedure for workers and outside entities to be able to bring that before the board, I think is going to be important. I also wanted to make sure that we were auditing our contracts. I know that we have the ability to go on our construction sites, but we haven't been doing that throughout the course of Metro on a regular basis. So creating a process for that, I think, would also be important. What that looks like once we do hire on-site inspectors, I think would be important. And then figuring out what the benchmarks for this body would look like, I think is something that we do need to establish.
Fantastic. Well, I think you're going to be very pleased with the executive director's presentation because safety was one of the primary elements that was driving his thinking on that. I won't speak on his behalf. I'll allow him to make his presentation. But one of the things that you mentioned is a structured complaint process. I believe, and my experience has shown that it also needs to be autonomous to ensure that workers are not retaliated against, and you have to create insulated processes that allow for the effective delivery of investigations and reporting without jeopardizing, the workforce that has come into your work sites. And so there's some balancing acts that have to happen in order to create those kinds of strategies. In terms of on-site compliance, that's not an uncommon problem for public procurement offices and compliance offices to have. It's typically a capacity issue, but there's certainly models that we could demonstrate to help reduce the windows of time between site inspections and to help maximize the effectiveness of your teams. So we'll be happy to go down those roads as directed.
Thank you, Council Member. Does anybody else have any comments for the consultant? Yeah.
Hey, Daniel, I'm Dennis Rowland, the Chief Procurement Officer for Metro Nashville, Davidson County. So one of the things that I'm very interested in, I think our contracts are really strong, but we're always looking best practices for the key performance indicators going forward. I think for safety, for not only safety, but program timing. There's a lot of different KPIs and just being able to thresh out what those best practices for KPIs look like is very interesting for me.
Yes, absolutely. And there's a lot of really solid examples around the country. It really is going to hinge on your priorities as an organization and obviously at the direction of the board. But yes, we can measure anything you want to measure. The issue is, are we measuring the right things, right? And are we able to translate those measurements into actionable activity that makes the organization better, deliver more precisely on its mission, and limit safety cautions as well as wage violations and things of that nature. So we can certainly run through a variety of scenarios that will capture best practices, allow you to benchmark similar size city models or municipality models that are appropriate measurements. I mean, you don't want to compare yourself, for example, to New York City or Chicago or something like that, because you're very likely not purchasing at the scale of those types of municipalities. And so you want to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples when you're doing this stuff. And so those are all exercises that I'll work with the team to identify, and then we can bring a couple of models back to the board whenever the executive director is ready to do that.
All right. Any other comments or questions? No? Okay. So I guess, Mr. Atkinson, is it back to you for your presentation? Sure. It's not on the agenda, but I think that's the way the things roll.
And again, welcome everybody that's here.
Is your microphone on?
What is it?
It's on now.
Can you hear me? Better? Again, appreciate the opportunity to visit and give you guys a little bit of a snapshot. Again, I talked to Fabian a couple weeks ago after my onboarding and going through a whole lot of policy and procedures and training with Metro, met with our legal department, with Derek, Dennis, our finance department. Again, for the last 60 days or so, what have you been doing, Trey? So I'll answer some of those questions and give you guys, again, a snapshot as we move through this a little bit. And again, please interrupt me or ask any questions or need anything clarified. But again, part of Daniel and the Intelligent Partnerships consulting work with us and everything too, again, developed, again, those executive summaries that you have there. I'll kind of follow along this PowerPoint presentation here, which might be a little bit different verbiage than what you see on the executive summary, but it kind of aligns together with the same subjects, if you will. Again, why does the board exist? What are we empowered to do? You know, what board support is needed? And again, a current snapshot of how we can execute and look at some key dates that we have coming up upon the board as well. Let's see, next one. Again, you guys know the history better than I do of again, where the board was established back in July of 2024. Again, community concerns about safety and fairness on all general services construction projects. Again, it's designed to provide oversight, transparency, and recommendations to Metro Council of any, clarifications and new programs and policies that we would like to see enacted. Again, part of the functions of the board is again to study best practices on our public work or on our Department of General Services and Metro's work sites and provide recommendations concerning improvements on work site safety. And then in conjunction working with a lot of our safety specialists that we do have within Metro. Some of you guys might be familiar with lots of departments within Metro. We have our HR safety, environmental health and safety division that kind of works with the employees of all Metro. We have our boss operations, which is our building operations. We do have a safety director there, which is Paul Hensley. We've been communicating as well on some of their initiatives as well. But again, what is the board empowered to do? Again, monitor contract compliance, review our safety plans and incidents, make policy recommendations, as I mentioned, to council, investigate any complaints out there that we can help facilitate at the local level, state level, and even maybe the federal level. And again, we'll talk a little bit further too about any special teams and committees to help shape this oversight strategy moving forward. Some of these slides might not follow exactly the executive summary, so it might jump around a little bit, but a lot of key information here from you guys meeting in the past. Again, part of the board functions were outlined some deadlines on some recommendations for safety, and then another area of pay applications that were due to the Metro Council back on July 1. We did put a resolution through with the help of Derek to get that postponed off due to my onboarding time and our first meeting together to establish bylaws and directions and things that we need to work on prior to submitting anything to the council. Right now that date's been extended for Metro Council meeting the first week of September, which I think is the 2nd. I'm not sure if that's Labor Day or not. It might be that Tuesday after. But our deadline to get it to legal, if we do make any recommendations right now, would be August 22nd, which is coming up pretty fast again, as you guys well know. At the end of the presentation too, we'll look at some more key dates, but our next meeting, we were going to try and shoot for the 19th. It was just, if we do monthly meetings, just putting us right at those deadlines, right? So again, it's probably not an issue to extend these dates further because obviously safety is an important topic along with our other initiatives. And we want to take the time, to do the right thing, to present the right information to council. And if we need more time, I'm sure we can get these dates extended with the council. Again, we'll talk about those more dates before the end of the meeting. Again, our safety mandate, basically accidents that have happened historically remind us we must improve. This basic summary kind of outlines the current landscape of Metro's construction compliance systems and identifies some early findings as I've been going through the onboarding process and meeting with some of the trades already. Again, opportunities for improvement, and again, some areas I'll note too where the board guidance will be essential for our next steps. Again, these are just some short blurbs here that are kind of summaries outside of what we've established for the functions of the board. Is again, I've been comparing current contracts and RFPs across Metro departments, confirming consistent safety language, and have got some recommendations for review as we move down that path and clarifications in a couple areas. Again, what you've been doing for the last 60 days, Trey. My background in history here in the Middle Tennessee market, again in construction, I have a lot of contacts with the code offices here, the inspectors, a lot of the general contractors out here, like Matt with the Carter Group, have done a lot of business with various GCs and worked for several of them here, so I already have a little relationships with these guys. For example, in our new Juvenile Justice Center, Bell Construction, their senior construction manager there, and I worked at a prior company together as well. And I've already met with a lot of their safety directors on all of our current sites right now too, and have looked into understanding their processes so I can communicate that back to you guys when we get to that time. Again, starting to create a snapshot of where we are with a lot of statistics and with what's being done out there for safety on our sites. So again, as Daniel mentioned, we want to be proactive and not reactive in all of this as we move forward. This slide's just kind of a generic slide. Again, my role, provide transparency, support, and delivery to you guys, facilitate board operations, provide data and documentation and guidance as we move down this path, and again, execute the recommendations and department processes that you guys see that we would benefit from. Kind of a little more of my onboarding summary, policy and procedures and training with the Metro teams. Some of my initial findings and some of the systems we have in place, again, is echoing what Dennis said earlier. We've got some really good contracts in place with Metro. Obviously, we wouldn't be where we are as a city without good contracts out there. And again, looking for some consistency and things in there and some opportunities for improvement. He'll be a key member of the board here too to help as a guide from the finance and procurement side. Some of the things in progress, safety plans. Again, I have met with all the GCs and our construction managers that are on our sites here over the last several weeks. I have engaged with them on the emphasis of safety, number one. Again, safety is number one priority of all the GCs that work for Metro. I have been included in all the OAC meetings that they have on a weekly basis for all of our sites, as well as monthly safety meetings to again be a part of those teams, tracking incidents and things of that they track as well. Again, their KPIs will probably mirror what comes out of this board on our KPIs as well for tracking things like how many days with no accidents. There's a multitude of different KPIs that we can develop that are tracked. You know, days without incident or things of that nature. With that, you know, OSHA, to get into the weeds a little bit, have certain forms that have to be filled out when there is an incident, and those are all on sites. It's kind of a requirement with a lot of our GCs on sites. If you're familiar with these OSHA 300 forms, it's kind of still a manual effort when it comes to OSHA and TOSHA documentation. A lot of the new technology these days that some of the subs are using too are different programs like Procore. There's some safety specific ones out there called HammerTech and eMod and things of that nature, but we can go through some of those details with some exhibits that I'm happy to provide to you guys too, to see what programs and potential checklists, if you will, that are already in place on our sites that we can help, you know, place a little more emphasis on as we move forward. Need board focus, which is a little bit of a section that's outlined in the executive summary that you guys have too, is a secure complaint process, and the KPI structure is kind of where we're going next, and being able to put those in place are some areas that we do have a gap and can fill a need. One of those areas that we looked at too on accident reporting and kind of a flow chart of what happens with OSHA online and communication to all of our projects to the public through different various things. I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with Hub Nashville. If you've ever been on that site, Hub Nashville has a pretty interactive dashboard where, you know, if you need to report a pothole to NDOT or investigate something on permits or property standards and things of that nature, might be an avenue to throw out there for the board's consideration too, on something that we might be able to put out there that would be construction specific, which would, you know, come to our team and be able to investigate that. It's an idea. Other than creating other awareness of flyers and business cards and things of that nature. You know, a lot of the guys now I see on site too have the QR codes, even stickers for your hard hat. So if there's, depending on what the issue is, if you need to look up a SDS sheet or do something that's almost a QR code that'll take you to the right link, to the right button to push somewhere. So there's a big play on technology, obviously, in our lives and what the trades use on site for these type things too, and we'll be able to show you those models. Again, what, as Sandra mentioned earlier, what reporting needs to come out of it and what statistics you guys need to want to look at. And again, what Dennis said earlier too, you know, measure the right things. What do we want to know? Again, keying off of that, there are many resources available to us. Part of the special teams that we might come out of the board here would be, you know, categorized in different areas based on your all's direction. Again, as I mentioned, with a lot of the relationship I have with the codes and the fire marshals, we can easily work with those departments of those type people that are out on sites all the time, doing inspections and things of that nature. Our boss team's in the field every day from a safety standpoint as well. And I've got a good relationship again with the fire marshal inspectors out there too. Again, they're out there looking at sprinkler systems, but they're looking for safety issues out there as well. So again, safety and work site standards might be a team out there. Contract policy review might be a team. Again, worker compliant type systems and things that more focus more on safety can be an area. Again, we've got a couple of avenues that we can go into, right? And then the payment oversight issue. Again, probably need from the board and examples of what we're looking at there. If there has been some complaints or issues in the past to look into, that one would probably be ground zero in my book right now with our payment oversight direction that is a function of the board. But again, we can all these subjects are a 2-day seminar, right? We can really drill into some of the information, and depending on what questions you guys have, we can dive into it. Again, moving forward, you know, again, we want to create a culture of safety and trust, recommend safety plan standards for procurement across Metro departments. Talk a little bit about too of some of the payment process. We do have a real key division, our business assistance office, which tracks small business, women-owned, minority-owned businesses on pay applications and things of that nature, ensuring that those are paid on a timely basis. And right now, just happy to report too, there doesn't seem to be any complaints or issues on that side of the fence. They will take it as far as going to site investigations too, and phone calls and active communication with those entities when, you know, monthly pay apps are put out there. Just for you guys, we don't get in those weeds yet, but that's part of our program that is has some pretty good compliant information out there. Again, fair and timely payment and some oversight involved in those efforts, just to bring you guys up to speed on what we do and where we can improve. Again, providing guidance and training access in the KPI development. Wrapping up a little bit here quick, again, back to some of these key dates, and again, sense of urgency out there a little bit with some of these time frames, but again, we can extend some dates and recommendations to council. You know, as far as this meeting today, we're probably ground zero, which I'm sure y'all agree on putting together, you know, some teams and some direction. And I know Derek might have some information too. I think the last meeting you guys had, they were talking about establishing some more specific bylaws over and above the functions that have been outlined for the board. So that's probably going to take some tasks and time as well moving forward. Again, the next time frame on getting deadlines of what we would want to recommend anything to the council being August 28th or 22nd coming up. And then maybe our next meeting right now shooting for the 19th, you know, again, Fabian, we'd have to look at, you know, maybe extending some time frames because it's obviously going to take a little more time depending on y'all's direction. Some of the other information as we move through your direction and your help, you know, be creating a KPI dashboard, which would be probably this fall time frame. Again, monthly meetings and reporting moving forward to where I can, provide you guys with the statistics, again, with what KPIs we established moving forward to be able to provide you guys, the tail of the tape, if you will, moving forward from our projects. We do have, just to get back up a little bit and explain to you guys more too, Metro, again, in the organizational chart of things, we are a owner role, and we have clients, if you will, like Metro Fire Department, Metro Police Department, because we build the buildings for those departments, right? We in turn hire construction managers. We have 3 on board at this time. One you might be familiar with is Capital Project Solutions. Their office is actually down the street from us. Though they have a good team that kind of run our projects, from a project management standpoint, to use the right terminology. And so we do get weekly updates during the OAC calls and meetings that we have with them moving forward. So again, being able to pull those statistics from the safety meetings on a monthly basis too, and any issues that might surface through those channels, we'll definitely bring that to you on, monthly summaries and keeping you guys up to date and bring you up to speed on all of our projects. Again, the board's a critical partner in improving how we build, hire, and protect our workers. My goal is to make sure you guys have the tools and access and the data that you need to make informed decisions and to implement those decisions swiftly and consistently, and I'm looking forward to walking that path with you guys. Again, we can dive in, Fabi, into these dates and timeframes and next steps.
Yeah, before we do that, I wanted to know if anybody has any questions about your presentation, if that's okay. Yeah, council member.
Thank you, Executive Director, for this presentation. Just a quick question. You mentioned Capital Project Solutions. What were the other 2?
Right now, we've executed contracts to JLL, which is Jones Lang LaSalle. They're a big property management type maintenance firm here in Nashville. They're actually a global company. They've had an office here in Nashville for quite some time, mainly in the property management and maintenance realm. And they've got a good construction project management group. Mike could probably speak to them a little bit more. We've established contract relationship with them, but we haven't awarded them any projects yet. The second one is a company called the Cumming Group. Joe Satkamp and Heather Hill, the group there I've had experience with too on other projects. Again, they're kind of a third-party owner's rep and have good construction managers there too. I think we might be awarded them one of the new fire halls coming up, if I'm not mistaken, Mike. We haven't had any organizational meetings with them yet, but we'll be involved with that here coming up soon as we get started on some new projects.
Great, thank you. I'm glad to hear that a lot of the general contractors are opening up their monthly, safety demonstrations to you and letting you know the safety plan that they currently have on our metro sites. Has that been extended to the subcontractors as well, or just the main contractor that's on our contracts?
Yes, we do always do the top. I always start out with the MEPs, if you understand MEPs, the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing contractors, which are the other big 3 that are under the GC. Of course, depending on the type of project, framers, roofers, all of those will be probably included in learning their safety initiatives, which a lot of them do have out there. I mean, we can get into those weeds of, those statistics right now too. Case in point, one of them on the Global Mall, the Hickory Hollow Mall project, Tiny's demolition and construction services company I've got a long history with as well. Bell Construction is the GC on that project. There's not really anything going on out there other than some demo and some prep work, if you will, on securing the perimeter buildings, depending on what Metro's direction is going to go with that particular project right now. But again, Kevin Meeks is their safety director out there for Tiny's, and again, with them being a lower tier subcontractor, do have a lot of those relationships here. I have met with Lee Company as well here locally, which I'm sure y'all familiar with Lee. They're a big GC or a big mechanical and plumbing contractor here. It's been here a long time. They do a lot of our building maintenance and operations work, as well as on the new Juvenile Justice Center as well. So I have met with those guys.
Yes, it's just that historically we've known that throughout the city, the safety breakdown happens with a lot of the subcontractors and passing the buck, as well as with pay. I know that MMPS has a separate procurement office, and eventually I think the hope is to loop in MMPS construction sites into this board, and I know that we have plans to work on some legislation for that. Until then, I know that in the past we've had some wage theft cases when it comes to construction sites on some of our metro school properties with some of the subcontractors. And I think that's where some of that breakdown I have heard in the past happen. So I want to make sure that that is something that we look at measuring as we move forward.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mr. Peña, you
Yes,
have a
sir.
comment?
I got something. Mr. Executive Director, thank you for your presentation. Also, mentioning about the OSHA, the safety, and for example, the 300 log, I'm interested to also be part of how we can learn more also that the information is triggered down to the subcontractors, like the Councilwoman mentioned. Sometimes when it goes down to the subcontractors, the workers, or the subcontractors don't get all the information. As an independent OSHA, federal OSHA trainer, the OSHA 300 log, I had to actually break it down and explain it to the people I'm training because nobody has a clue how to fill them out. And right now, as a matter of fact, 2 months ago, I had a complaint from the wife of one of the workers of the 150 workers that I helped organize from the JW Marriott for overtime pay. They're already complaining that the Tennessee Titans Stadium, that they're not getting paid overtime for the drywall and the finishing on their site. I have the name of the contractors and all that, so that's something that I'm really interested in, how we can move forward to address all those issues and stop the wage theft that's happening currently at the moment.
I understand.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Peña. Does anybody else have any comments? Yes, Councilmember.
Sorry, I think my last thing is just on the date. August 19 is a council date. If we could just make sure not to schedule the meetings on council days, that would be great.
Yep. One of the things that we've had a challenge in Shervon is on top of it is our Sunny West Conference Center over here where most of the meetings are held. It's going through a remodeling process now. I think it's going to be down probably for the next 6 to 8 weeks or so, probably through August. So again, we have had a little bit of a challenge securing this room in several areas where we can have the right technology. And I got to brag on the ITS guys with Chris, and they've really made it happen real fast here today for a room that hadn't been utilized for this role. So we have had a little bit of challenge on making that happen in different parts of the facilities. We might end up in a library somewhere, Sandra, next time, or back somewhere else, so but we're working hard to make sure that happens, and obviously looking at the council dates, because I know Derek probably has to be at a council meeting or sometimes at other meetings that happen in the evenings, and we're sensitive to all your schedules and making it work for everybody.
Very well. Any more comments or questions? No? All right. So, well, item number 6 on the agenda is comments from the members. Do you all have any comments that are unrelated to the presentation? Yes, Councilmember.
Sorry, I talk a lot. I think at the last meeting, we talked about having a bylaws committee, subcommittee meeting, and we forgot to schedule that. And I think we probably need to get that going. And I don't know, I don't remember who was on the subcommittee.
Yeah, I believe it was me and maybe Dennis were the two that were going to be on it.
Okay. And then I know I was on it, and I don't remember if Ann was on it or Michael.
May have
have been, it may have been me.
It was you? Well, I think we have the minutes, so we could always go back and look at it.
Yeah, I think that they were reflected. I think there was some uncertainty, as I recall. I think somebody was getting back to us.
Those last two names, I think it was either or situation. If one declined, it would fall to the other.
Well, and I think Ann said she didn't want to be a part of that, I believe.
Okay. And I don't think we elected a chair for that subcommittee, or did we? That way that the chair can go ahead and try and get us all scheduled with the staff.
My recommendation will be to ask Mr. Atkinson to follow up with the committee members and schedule the meeting because they cannot talk to each other directly. So, Mr. Atkinson, can you please follow up and schedule a meeting for them to get started?
So Dennis, Matt, Michael, and Sandra, 4.
Is that okay?
I have to reach out to Derek. I mean, we talk about bylaws, templates, formats, or things of that nature. Is something we might be able
Was it
to
you or was it Mike?
have a starting point on.
Yeah, I think there's going to be.
The fourth. Myself, Dante Gleason, Ayton, and Derek.
And Derek, sorry, I'm not a member, but just out of curiosity, will those committees need to be noticed?
Yeah, the legislative body council created this entity. This entity's subject to Open Meetings Act because the council is. Likewise, the committees would. So, yeah, there'll have to be an agenda posted as well as placing it on the Metro calendar and other places where public meetings are noticed.
And can those meetings also be web-based? If they're noticed, it can't be web-based.
No. Tennessee allows legislative bodies to sometimes communicate electronically, but their meetings still have to be in person. If there's a person that needs a disability accommodation, they could participate electronically, but otherwise we have to meet in person. So you're going to have to find a suitable Metro piece of property for them to meet on. But I'll be glad to work with Mr. Atkinson as we navigate those issues. It'll become secondhand eventually. Sorry, but that's...
No, I anticipated that answer, but I just wanted to get it for the record.
Yes, thank you.
All right. This is good to have this committee scheduled. Mr. Atkinson, I guess you already did your summary presentation, or there is a different one?
Pretty much a PowerPoint and kind of mirrored the information. I mean, we've got time. If you want me to just read the executive summary verbatim, there might be some other items in there that of note that you guys might be interested in that might foster some other questions.
Whatever you think that it will inform this committee, we are very happy to hear.
Sure, we can do that right quick. Good.
Okay.
Again, basically a little history here. Why does the Contract and Compliance Board exist? Again, back in July of 2024, Metro created the board through the ordinance noted there, 420.130, in direct response to growing community concerns regarding worker safety and inconsistent oversight on public construction sites. The board was designed to ensure independent, transparent oversight and to help rebuild public confidence in Metro's construction contracting systems. Again, the board's composed of a cross-section of safety experts, labor representatives, industry professionals, and Metro Department advisors who bring both technical experience and community perspective. The board is also empowered to evaluate compliance, review project conditions, study best practices, and make recommendations that will elevate our construction standards. Again, the executive summary offers a snapshot of where we currently stand and what we've learned in recent months, and where the board insight will be critical in shaping the path forward. What we know so far, again, as indicated on some of the PowerPoints, safety on our project sites. While several of our sites have reported strong safety records in recent months, historical incidents, including worker fatalities, remain a painful reminder of the stakes. Site tours and conversations that I've had with GCs, trades, and construction management teams do reveal a positive engagement with protocols. Some of the things that we'll talk about too when we get into talking about OSHA and what programs that some of the GCs and trades have. You guys have probably heard of toolbox talks, again, weekly and monthly inspections. But again, some of the consistency varies across the companies. Several of our companies are proactive, and they'll use third-party safety consultants out there. Alfred's probably familiar with some of these companies out there, and we can share some of those exhibits and reports that we do get. For example, American Constructors out on our Southeast Police Precinct project over here on Murfreesboro Road uses a local company called Four Tier Safety. Again, these guys aren't OSHA inspectors, but they're safety inspectors. They're a consulting firm that offers training. Alfred, you're probably familiar with some of them. Another one I think is Core Safety that Bell uses as well. They do a real good job of coming on site, going down through the typical OSHA top 25 and making recommendations, documenting through photos and things of that nature of any issues, and also bragging on the guys too. You know, if somebody's using a ladder properly, so how can you use a ladder improperly, right? Fall protection, you know, open ditch, all the different things that you'd see on a construction site that would create a hazard or a slip or a fall. Again, they document and outline and bring it to the forefront of all the trades on site during their safety meetings, so how they can improve. And they're scored. You know, out of 25, they might get an 85 one day, they might get 100 most of the time, but we have gotten some good reports back, and we can share those with you guys too for examples and be a part of our KPIs moving forward. Let's see, next page. Contract language review. Again, existing contract templates, including baseline OSHA and TOSHA requirements, are in our contracts, but again, enforcement protocols and training, accessibility, and site safety specific plan and require a little more scrutiny. Again, we've already talked about complaint handling. Metro currently relies on the General Hub Nashville platform, which it really isn't construction specific, but again, that's an avenue that we might be able to investigate for an option. There's no formal channel for anonymous or protected worker reporting directly tied to our construction contracts, and that's an area we can look into very easily. Payment and contractor oversight. Again, our Metro's third-party payment verification systems, like I mentioned earlier with the Business Assistance Office, does a great job with small business enterprises and making sure they're taken care of out there, and we have a pretty good policy and procedures and flow chart from those guys. We could actually have one of those guys come speak at our meeting as well for a little more detail. I do have a pretty good flow chart and their checklist that they use for compliance they could share as well. Insurance and risk management, along with OSHA and potentially TOSHA inspections on sites. A lot of the trades have experienced, and I have as well, insurance, builders risks inspections. They're almost more involved than OSHA inspection would be. A lot of your insurance companies, the big ones like Marsh, and there's a local one here, Scott Insurance Company, that I think T.W. Frierson utilizes. They'll come on and do insurance inspections. So, you know, they're looking at the logical stuff like fire extinguishers, hazardous communication, proper signage. You know, are there any fuel, propane cylinders of anything on site that would create a hazard? They go through a safety checklist of those items. And believe it or not, water is now considered a hazardous material. Alfredo might be seeing some of this. Again, the big thing for the insurance companies is not fire anymore. They could care less about fire extinguishers. Sometimes on inspections, they're looking for water intrusion, right? You get into the indoor air quality, the mold, moisture, things of that nature. After a rain, as Matt, you've probably seen it too. What do you got to do? You got to dry up that concrete slab with all the water on it, because now it's not so much mold and moisture issue, depending on what stage of construction you're at, but now it's a slip hazard, right? So we got to look at all those issues of things of that nature from a builder's risk and an insurance risk standpoint too. We've got some good programs that are out there and some good policy that's in place. And some of the statistics too, most of our construction managers and GCs do train personnel for OSHA 10, OSHA 30. Most all of us out there that have been in the trades long have gone through that program. OSHA 100 is probably the next level. Most everybody too on site, including sub-tier and third-tier trades, have gone through first aid and AED training. I think we have to have our certificates every 3 years, isn't it, Matt? I mean,
Yeah, I think it's 2 years.
2 years now. Mine expired back March of last year. I need to get in a class myself. It's one of those things, this construction project management world, that we continue to have ongoing training and renew our certifications on a periodic basis. We actually have an OSHA 500 guy that works for TW Frierson that's a trainer level as one of our superintendents with TW Frierson. So I was surprised to see that. OSHA 100 at that level is probably rare, but most, I'd say 80% of our crews out there are OSHA 10 and OSHA 30 related if they are in a supervisory or construction project management role. What we're still learning, again, several opportunities remain to benefit from your involvement. You know, again, questions out there for you guys that jog some ideas. Again, how should Metro establish clear safety benchmarks, or again, our KPIs across our projects and not just site by site? Again, consistent across our departments as well. What kind of complaint reporting system can ensure safety without fear of retaliation? Again, we want to make our things safe for people to voice concerns as well as being safe on site physically. What performance indicators should be used to monitor contract enforcement, payment equity, and compliance in real time? Which policies should be elevated to ordinance level guidance for long-term impact? You know, again, like Dennis said, measure the right things. What's going to make the biggest bang for the buck, if you will? And again, the KPIs and the directives that the board comes up with, again, we would want to prioritize those as importance and, you know, most high priority first. Again, these type of policy and oversight areas with the board's leadership will be instrumental. How the board can lead, again, the contract and compliance board is not just a reviewing body, it's an active participant in shaping how Metro ensures safety, compliance, and fair work practices. Immediate opportunities for engagement, subcommittee formation, which we've already talked about with those different areas there. Policy recommendations that were due to council. Again, we'll have to revisit those dates, I'm sure, as we move forward with the bylaws meeting and some policies and procedures that we would want to enact after that. Again, review and feedback on KPIs. Again, drafting the KPIs related to contract performance, safety statistics, and being able to compile that and track it and report back to you guys on a regular basis. Next steps on the upcoming milestones. Again, as we indicated on our PowerPoint, again, council resolutions may need to extend right now. I mean, 4 or 5 weeks coming up if we do have a next meeting right before the next council meeting, obviously, with drafting any potential legislation or recommendations that we'll need to go through our departments like Dennis and Finance for if it's something contract related, and well as Derek with the legal side.
You all may not know, but understand this. Whenever I work in drafting a piece of legislation, whether it's a resolution or an ordinance, there's a deadline about 2 weeks before the council meeting that it has to go to the Department of Finance and through other reviews. So that window is very tight. And so yeah, to get your feedback and in time to draft a resolution, I don't think we could meet that deadline. For you to have meaningful input on what we're going to include in that resolution. Just putting that out there. But we do have to have about a 3-week lead time to get the resolution drafted before the council meeting, because we got to get it to the other approval processes 2 weeks ahead of that.
Thank you, Mr. Atkinson. I wanted to bring the attention to the committee to some of your recommendations. The subcommittee formation and the policy recommendations, those are ways in which this committee can offer some leadership in how we go about researching and putting together plans and ideas. So I would like you to review this and give us some feedback at the next meeting. And if there are other subcommittees that you think we should be exploring, or if there is any legislation or policies that we should be considering, to be ready to share at the next meeting. I don't want to put you on the spot right now because we just heard it, but I think these are some good ideas from the executive director that we should consider moving forward. And that brings us to the end of the agenda, and we are getting ready to adjourn. But before I do that, is there any other comments or questions or prices for the pizza maybe? Yeah.
Mr. Chair, just to remind the group, I think it was Councilwoman Sepulveda that inquired about translation services. Metro does have a contract with a translation services firm, so if there is a need to have someone available so that we have someone other than a member of the board to provide translation, we'll need to know in advance so that we can provide them a timely opportunity to meet.
There should always be a need. We should always have a translator. Mm-hmm. I mean, if somebody shows up and wants to speak and there is no translator, we'll miss an opportunity.
Right. No, I fully understand.
Yeah. I guess I need a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn.
A second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Meeting adjourned. You guys need to finish that pizza.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.